Welcome to Mind Shift Power Podcast, a show for teenagers and the adults who work with them, where we have raw and honest conversations. I'm your host, Fatima Bey, the Mind Shifter. And welcome, everyone. Today we have with us Lucille Esler. She is from Gloversville, New York. She has won Miss Finger Lakes Teen 2024, Miss Niagara's Teen 2025. She is 14, and she's more than just a pretty face. She is pretty with a cause. I met her as a client. I altered a few of her pageant gowns, actually, including the one you see on the cover. And she has a lot of really good things to say, which is why I invited her on today. How are you doing today, Lucille?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this episode.
Me
So
too.
I like to dive right in. Why did you start competing in pageants?
I started competing in pageants for several reasons, but the most important reason was because my brother Teddy has autism, and through the Miss America organization, you have something called a community service initiative. And I knew before I even started competing that I needed my community service initiative to be supporting autistic individuals and their families, because I know the challenges that my family and I face on an everyday basis. So my goal as Miss Niagara's Teen 2025 is to be able to connect to more families that experience the same things that I do every single day.
That's awesome. So that's what I mean, audience, when I say she's pretty with a cause. Tell us a little bit more about your brother Teddy, because autism is a very general term nowadays. Does he talk? Like, what level is he at?
My brother Teddy, he is 9 years old now. He's in fourth grade, and he is not able to communicate. A lot of the time, he uses his hands or he uses his iPad to press buttons, and it repeats back to him to help him communicate. But he really is only using his body language, and sometimes because he can't express his emotions with his words, he gets aggressive. And it is very hard on our family, but I'm so lucky that I've been able to use my year last year as Miss Finger Lakes Teen to go into schools and educate kids about this.
So tell us a little bit more about that. So my next question I was going to ask you is, what do you do as Miss Teen? So as Miss Finger Lakes 2024, what have you done in the schools? What kind of talks have you given?
So I went into 4 schools throughout my reign as Miss Finger Lakes Teen. I think even more because I visited Teddy's school, which is called BOCES, and it's through a special education program. I was able to talk to so many kids. It was amazing. But when I go into these classrooms, I read a slideshow called Life with the Adorable. And the name is Life with the Adorable because when my brother Teddy, his full name is Theodore, when he was out of the womb, the nurses said, "Oh my gosh, he is Theodorable." So I knew that had to be my name for when I visit the schools. And so I go in and I share my experiences with living with an autistic brother and some quirks and qualities that he has every single day that can relate to young children if they have autism or if they don't have disabilities. And I show that you have some similarities as well as some things that are not similar to Teddy. But by sharing these stories, actually one time there was a girl who had autism in one of the classrooms, and she didn't know that she was autistic, but she heard me reading the slideshow, and she went back to her mom and she said, "Mom, today I learned about autism." And that gave the mom the opportunity to tell her daughter for the first time that she was autistic. And I have many other good stories like this, but to be able to use the Miss America organization as a platform to connect to families really means the world.
So it's called Miss Miracle Organization that puts on the Miss Finger Lakes.
Yes. Well, there's a Miss Finger Lakes and Miss Upstate New York organization, as well as the Miss Buffalo and Miss Niagara organization. And they are local chapters of the Miss New York organization. And the Miss New York organization is a state chapter of the Miss America organization.
Okay, sounds like multi-level organization stuff.
Yes.
Much like the rest of America and lots of other fields, actually.
Oh,
yeah. So I love the fact that you were able to have an impact on one, at least one young woman, and being told that she was autistic. And I'm sure that her mother was trying to figure out a way to tell her,
Hmm.
because I'm sure as a parent, that's probably not easy.
Yeah.
There's a couple other stories that you told me. What other reactions have you gotten from some of the students you've spoken to?
Well, one time I went to an event held by the ARC Lexington. The ARC Lexington is a nationwide organization that has programs and services that helps families throughout the nation. They actually help my family through their programs and services. So I've been able to go to their events throughout the year with my title as Miss Finger Lakes Teen. And they had a Rock for All Abilities concert where it's people with disabilities. They made their own band, and
Oh,
I was
wow.
able to speak there and to talk
Aw.
about my community service initiative and my youngest brother, Teddy, who has autism, and how it has impacted my family. And there were actually girls and boys that were older but more high functioning on the spectrum of autism. And after I read my speech, they came up to me and they told me, "Oh, I have autism too, just like your brother." And it really meant the world because that was saying that they were listening to me and they made a connection and they just gave me the biggest hug. And I took a photo with them. It was the sweetest moment.
And I want to point out a key factor. Being on this platform has caused some people to listen to you. And to me, that's the only reason to be on any platform for any reason. Entertainment, you name the reason, is to get people to listen to you, because then that's an opportunity to make a difference. And I'm sure for some of the kids that you've spoken to, they were able to feel a little bit more accepted, normal, give it whatever word you want there,
Mhm.
just because they heard you talking about it. Someone who's got a big title saying, "Hey, I know I have someone like you, and I know what that's like." So I think that's great that you're using your beauty as a tool to talk about something that's you're passionate about. And I think that more
Mhm.
people need to be like you. Not that they need to be beauty queens, but they all have different gifts and talents that they could follow you in that respect, in that you can use whatever gift and talent you have, whatever platform you have, even if it's small, to make a difference in the people around you.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us a little bit about, we know that you are uh, Niagara's teen for 2025.
Mhm.
What are you going to do with that? What are your plans with that?
Well, last year I had a t-shirt fundraiser called Support Awesome People, but instead of awesome like AWESOME, it was awesome like AUSOME to
Oh,
represent
okay.
autism. And like I said, the ARC Lexington is an organization that helps my family throughout their programs and services and other families in my community. So, as the next Miss Niagara's teen, I want to open up these fundraisers again to not only share them within my community, but through other local chapters of the ARC. I'm working with planning with the ARC of Oneida County in Utica and with the ARC of Erie County, actually near the region where I won Miss Niagara's teen in the city of Buffalo. And I'm also hosting a sensory skate event at my local skating rink over this December break because I want to have certain hours where kids with disabilities and their families can have an open skate
Oh,
with
wow.
not as loud music and not
Oh, that's
very
awesome.
overstimulating so they can be able to have the same opportunity as neurotypical kids do while they're skating every day.
That is really awesome. Yeah, I never, that's a good idea, because loud noises is a very big deal for a lot of them. So
Yes.
being able to have it lower where it's people just like them and nobody's getting in the way and they're not getting anybody else's way and they could just have fun. That's
I know
awesome.
that's a struggle for my brother Teddy with loud
Yeah.
places that he's not
Yeah.
comfortable with. So to be
Mhm.
able to impact more kids and to even give Teddy the opportunity to go skating without having to worry about like just being in his own space and being comfortable.
Well, I think that's really freaking awesome. I'm so glad that you're doing that. What else do
Thank
you
you.
plan for your personal future besides those things, as your title?
Last year, I was able to compete at Miss New York's Teen in July, and it was one of the most life changing experiences. I
Why?
got to meet I got to meet girls from throughout New York State who won local titles. And I've never even met these girls before, but I felt like after a week, we have already made strong relationships. And
Good.
I had the experience of being able to share my passions and my talents, as well as my community service initiative and my experiences with having an autistic brother. So to have this opportunity to go to Miss New York's teen again as Miss Niagara's teen is something that I'm looking forward to.
Because now you come back, I got another title. That's so great. That's so great. And what else do you see for your future?
I also am looking forward to hopefully being on a college dance team and going to college to be a radiologist. This is something I'm really passionate about, and I'm 14. I have 4 years left. I don't know where I'm going
Right.
to college yet, but
Right.
if I win Miss New York's teen in the future, I'm looking maybe to go to Alabama because the Miss New York organization, well, the Miss America organization, they give each girl in the teen category the experience to go to Bama with a full ride scholarship.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, that's
It's
awesome.
so
That
cool.
is so awesome. Well, you do have a few years before college, and tell us why radiology, why you're so passionate about that.
Well, because my brother Teddy has autism and I've always been interested in the subject health in school, I think it's so important to have the opportunity to be able to look at MRIs and to look at things and to be able to tell people what their problem is and what's going on. Because I know that it takes a lot of hard work to go to medical school and to come out and be a radiologist, but I think it's
Hmm.
so cool to be able to diagnose people with their problems and to make a difference.
That's that. You're right. I never thought about that. You are kind of making a difference by letting them know what they have so that they can start the process of whatever
Hmm.
they need to start. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of different things. Yeah, radiology is very, it's rocket science. it's it's not easy, and it's not something
No.
that stupid people can do. That's for sure. It does require a lot of brains. I have some respect for that. Like I do a lot of things in the medical field, actually.
Yes.
I will say that one of my favorite things about you, and one of the reasons I invited you on my show, is you're so down to earth. People assume that when you're really pretty and you have attention, whether it's in your case titles or you're on TV or a social media star or whatever, people assume that, oh, you must be arrogant, you must be snotty, you must think you're all that. You don't carry that with you at all. And it's one of the reasons why, after talking to you, you were just a client whose dresses I was altering and, doing alterations to. But after having a conversation, I'm like, you know what? I want her on my show because there's
Oh.
more depth to you than just on the outside. You're pretty on the outside, but honestly, that's not the most impressive thing about you. So what? You are pretty on the inside, and that's what shows. And for many of you listening, you are just like her. You don't need to be a beauty pageant. You are pretty on the inside, and it needs to show on the outside. I'm not talking about your physical look. I mean, some of you need to open up and allow your passions to show through because you can do a lot of some of the things that she's doing, you can do. And I don't mean necessarily as a beauty title. I just mean going out there and finding your niche, finding the thing that you want to fight for that you think is important and going for it because that by itself will raise you up. I promise you that can happen, right?
Yes, it can. It just takes hard work and dedication. And even when I go into schools, like whether I have a crown or sash on or not, I always try to influence young girls who ask me, how did you get here? How did you do this? I tell them
Yeah,
it takes hard work and dedication, but if you have something that you're passionate about, and everyone has something that makes them unique, and if you
right.
use that to the best of your abilities and express yourself with authenticity, like how I took my experiences with having an autistic brother and I made it something that made me unique, but also how I can express myself in my at home life.
Did you ever have, before you started pageantry, did you ever feel like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this?
I experience the I don't know if I can do this feeling every single day. Like there's always going to be times where I doubt myself just because I have a community service initiative, and I love to use the Miss America organization as a platform to be able to share my experiences and all of these things. Doesn't mean I don't self doubt myself. And I actually
Right.
was able to talk about this in my interview for Miss Niagara's teen, which was just a few weeks ago. And to be able to share how I deal with self doubt and how it helps me become a more resilient person is what I want to carry going to Miss New York's teen and hopefully someday going to Miss America's teen to share to young girls.
I hope you do, because people like you should. Um,
Aw.
I think it's important for you to say that, because I want the audience to hear, and other teen girls to hear, that just because you're supermodel pretty doesn't mean that you're 100% confident.
Mm-hmm.
And people assume that sometimes it's because you're pretty, sometimes it's because you're famous or have a lot of money. They assume that it means you have everything else together, and that is almost never true.
Mm-hmm.
And I want the girls out there to know that just because, if you feel like you're scared and not confident in certain areas, you're actually normal. There's
Mm-hmm.
you're probably you're probably not as confident as you should be, but you're actually normal. And you're doing great things is not out of reach for you, because it's not out of reach for her.
Yeah,
She
everyone doubts themselves once in a while. Like, if
right.
they tell you that they don't doubt themselves, that's a lie. Because I'm sure it crosses everyone's mind.
Absolutely. And it's normal to do that. And I want
Yes.
other girls your age to know it is normal to do that. But what you don't want to do is stay in the doubt and park there. Use
Mm-hmm.
it as a gas station. All right, this is how I feel right now, but I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to tough it out, and I'm going to move forward anyway.
You can use it as
Because,
motivation to do
yep.
better, because I know in dance, like, it's not always easy for me or anybody to get anything automatically. And I have to remind myself, if you don't get something automatically, it's even more of a reason why you can work towards it. And tomorrow
Hmm.
is a new day, and you don't have to get, it's not going to be easy. And if you expect it to be easy, it's never going to come, because progress is a process.
You stole my words, girl, because I say it all the time. But it is really true that progress is a process, and understanding that helps us to not give up. But if you expect everything to be, overnight, I can't stand it when there's people in positions like yours and they only show the glory of their position, and they're
Mhm.
not honest about the journey it took to get there. And it's like, I don't care if in this case, we're talking about pageant. We could be talking about success in another area. I don't care what we're talking about. Nobody just jumps overnight and goes, ta-da, I is here. It just doesn't work like that. We have to work hard if we want to accomplish our dreams and goals. I don't care
Mhm.
what topic you're talking about. Um, Now, I want you to talk directly to your peers. You already did a little bit, but what advice do you have for any teen listening right now?
The advice that I have is, like I was saying, if you have something, which I know everyone does, that makes you unique, you don't hide it. Don't hide it to
Yes.
be like everyone else. Because the
Hmm.
only reason why I'm here today and why I am involved in the Miss America organization, and I've had these fundraisers, and I've been able to be an advocate for autism, is because I expressed what made me unique, and I didn't just go in my comfort zone, because I wouldn't be here today if I didn't step outside of my comfort zone. Sometimes you have to push yourself to do the best that you can, but also to step outside of your comfort zone. And sometimes it's not always comfortable what you're doing, but you can over time. It's a skill that you're going to learn, that you have to gain resilience through your experiences, because it's not always going to be easy, but if you keep pushing on and stay motivated, you will get there eventually.
Beautifully said, Lucille. And I'm hoping that your peers were listening and take that under advisement, no matter what topic their focus is. It's everything you just said is absolutely true. So, how can people find you, Lucille?
You can find me through my Instagram accounts, Lucille.Esler and Miss Niagara Teen New York. But New York like NY.
All right. And I will have that in the podcast description. So you all
Thank
will be
you.
able to follow her if you'd like and see her, hopefully her other wins, because I think she only just began. And we'll see more and more. I do think that, and I hope that I'm right. If I'm wrong, don't come back and correct me. But but I
Oh
hope
my
that I'm
gosh.
really right. I hope that I'm really right, and that you do raise up on other platforms simply for the reason that you will utilize them. As long as you don't change your mindset, you will
Mhm.
utilize the whatever platforms you're put on for good. And so I applaud that, and I'm really really glad you came on. I absolutely love you, and I'm really glad to have met you.
Thank you, and me too. You not only did the best job as a seamstress, but I know you're doing good in this world, and I know you're doing more than just being a seamstress.
Yes. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank
again, once
you.
again, thank you, Lucille, for coming on, and we will talk soon.
Of course. All right, talk to you soon. Thank you.
And now for a mind shifting moment. I want to go back to something that we both said at some point during the episode, and that is that we all have gifts and talents, just different kinds. And I want you to think about, what power do you have? Could be the way you talk, the way you're able to convince people of things. It could be the way you're able to analyze things. You have some sort of platform. Could be a teacher, whatever your platform is. Everybody around you listens to what you say. Even if it's just in your small circle in high school, that's still a platform. What gifts or platform do you have that you can use to make a difference? You hear how Lucille is using hers. She's using her gift, her beauty, as a tool. You see, her beauty is a gift. She was born with it. She was born that pretty, with that body, that face, that hair. But she chose to take all of that and do something with it. What were you born with? What gifts do you hold? And how can you use it as a tool to help those around you? Just something to think about. Thank you for listening to Mindshift Power Podcast. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Mindshifter. If you have any comments, topic suggestions, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit fatimabay.com/podcast. Remember, there's power in shifting your thinking. Tune in for next week.